Greetings, Jedi traders. David here of Trading Fibs to bring you the daily trend for week 35, day number 4. It is Thursday. Happy September to you. September 1st, 2016. As always, please seek financial advisement when trading with your money, as these videos are for educational purposes only. Support your knowledge in the market. See what's going through my head on any given day. Always make sure you have a solid trading plan and always manage your stop when placing a trade. If this is your first time watching the daily trend videos, welcome as we run through the indices and some of the futures market and take a look at where our current trend is. Not to say that is where we are going tomorrow. It's just a current state of condition. All right. Week 35, day 4, let's jump into today's stats as we roll through the blog here, and with some econ data this morning, the big three here, jobless claims, PMI, and ISM, and not looking so positive there. However, taking a look at the stats, much more impressive as big winner on the NQ today, 102 tick run, NQ for a total of 186, YM 90, ES 78 sitting out in the PM session. Really did not only just miss the entry, but wasn't so confident on the entry on the ES and YM and just let those two run. I'll show you here why in a little bit, but it was the NQ, had a perfect setup and went with it and just rode it all the way up. It exited after market chops at the tops. All right, total week leading into Friday, 21 setups, 879 ticks for the week. Almost coming up to second best week in the row. Last week being that. All right, there it was. There was the AM session with, again, a little bit of a scalp-minded mindset, just going in and out, 12 ticks on the NQ, YM, and ES, and just looking for the next setup. And then finally getting a nice piece to the downside. And that was pretty much it for the YM and ES with all 5 charts in the red. Couldn't ask for anything better. It was really the PM session setup. So let's take a look at some of the charts here on the ES. Again, we had multiple times to get back in. Here was the setup on 5 charts. If you missed it, you got another pullback entry to the downside, grabbing trend 2.5 here. It was 2.75 down here as the trend continued underneath the T350. As we talk about each day, watch price action under the T350 and above the T350 with the multiple time frames, and you got yourself a nice setup. So trend number 1, and that was it pretty much. As trend number 3, 4, and 5 in the afternoon, just pretty much let those go. Same picture on the YM, but here on the NQ didn't have as many setups. It really was setup number 2, and then setup number 3. Again, didn't grab the whole number 2 on the NQ. It was really number 3 trend of the day to the upside. Only grabbed a little piece of this as the Globex low, I believe, was right in the way, and at that point just grabbed a little bit part of that, but it was trend number 3 that just let it ride all the way up to the upside. We'll show you the setup here in a minute. And then the YM, again, like the ES, again, a little bit of a pullback there. There was the first setup, 5 charts in the red, 5 charts in the red, a little pullback, soft pullback here, give me another opportunity, and then downtrend. Again, when you're getting down with these pullbacks, who's to say price action's not going to run down any lower? It can. So that's why we tend to talk about early entries where you finally get a turnaround back into trend, solid body tail down, which will give you a little bit more ticks than waiting for the signal. And this could have ended up being a loss if you had simply gotten at the end and not taken your ticks off soon enough. I know that if I had gotten in here, that would have probably turned into a loss for me, but did not play once we were down here at the lows. All right, setup of the day. I'm going to call it out right here on the NQ. Looked great. I know I didn't have 5 charts in the green, but I got a buy signal. Tick count was in the air. Buy signal was above the T3 moving averages, above the T350. You got a 534 crossover giving you the buy signal, and then there was the arrow right on the price action crossing the 50 and the 144. Eventually, yeah, it caught and crossed over a couple minutes later, but it was the entry right here and just simply riding it all the way up. Once we got to the tops, had nothing to lose. Stop it, break even, let it chop, and then finally price action eventually broke that 50 EMA, broke the 144, and decided to just let it go. And sure enough, you'll see here on the charts in a minute, price action actually ended up coming back upside based on that AD line lift right at the end. All right, there's our AD line again, holding into that 750 and the pivot today right on the same line. So price action that afternoon session really not being able to push down again, watching it through that NQ trade, and as long as that AD line didn't push that 750, I wasn't as concerned. But again, at some point, I just wanted to bail and keep what I got, and price action lifted up. So use that AD line as a telltale. It was around this time that I decided, as the AD line started to push down below that 750 and close, I felt that was an appropriate time to close out the trade. All right, let's take a look at the fib targets. Again, did really well on the NQ, both up and down. YM hitting its downside, and ES to the downside as well. Looking at the daily gap, we did pretty well here as far as price action setting another open gap, but as far as closing anything out, no, we didn't get anywhere near. All open gaps downsides. We hold around this all-time high zones. NQ holding up here. Thought we might get that 47.46 as price action kept coming down, but nope, we're still holding. Sellers just not being able to get a bite enough to hold it even more downside. But crude definitely on a move downside as it sets up another open gap. Near's downside gap, well, we got 37.90 downside, so we'll take a look here at the daily big pick in a minute and see where we headed at this point. If we have no open gaps back to the downside besides 37, what are we looking at for support? All right, let's take a look at the daily trend. Let's start out with crude there as price action looking for the highest probability setup. It was crude to the downside from the get-go. You had sell signal back here underneath the T350 pullback here inside the 25-minute open range. Chopped a little bit, finally breaking through to the downside. Small little pullback. Again, very nice trending session on the crude. You got all four charts for the most downside in the red, except for a little patch of green here on the pullback. Puts you back in the downtrend. So downtrend overall trend for the day, as we'll see here on the big pick. Gold, again, a little bit of movement upside, break, buy signal upside, pull back to the T350, bang, right there, buy signal upside, breaks above the London high and above the Globex high, a little bit of chop through the afternoon. So nice move on the gold in the U.S. session. Taking a look at the bonds across the board. Bonds, a very nice move, very much trending market as price action overnight session downside, and then there it was as the price action opened up with the sell signal on all five charts in the red to the downside as we opened up the U.S. market, and then bonds rebounding, find support off the 50 EMA, and then puts you into the long with all five charts in the green. Very nice move today. Again, we reviewed those YM trades, again, pretty much finishing up near the U.S. Open today, so not much of a game. We pretty much dropped and popped and chopped till the end. Again, there's that nice move on the NQ, to the downside. A little bit of that chop mid-session, finally breaking below the 25-minute open range and Globex low, and there she went. Five charts in the red. Nice move. Again, there was that small early entry, unless you might have taken a loss on that if you had gotten it right at the sell signal. Unfortunate. But again, price action back upside, support, and there it was. It was the run to the upside, and it finally just bailed around this point, which is around that 220 time frame in which the AD line broke that 750 as we saw. So let's go back to that 750 so you can see what I was talking about. There it was. That was about 210, 220. And take a look on the chart. We're taking a look here around this time frame as price action. Again, I could have held down, but here we see price action again breaking down and finally saying, yep, that could be it. And if my entry's back here, I don't want to give up too much more. So finally bailed out here, and sure enough, look at that. Price action right back up to the top, pretty much finishing up at the U.S. Open and the ES. Same picture all across the board, coming up not too far from the Midnight Open. Never really being able to break the London high session. All right, let's jump over to the EMD, Mid-Cap 400, as price action offered a couple opportunities pretty much to the downside today as the ES also came down. There was resistance right there at about the 10:30 hour reversal. Price action breaks down, giving you two opportunities to the downside, back, upside. So very much similar setup as the NQ with a buy signal. Again, you don't have to have all the charts in sync. I'd rather have all the charts in sync, but EMD Mid-Cap 400, not a bad market to also use the indice, the tick count on, as it is an index relating to the S&P 500 as well, or relation. So you can use the tick count in the AD line to identify a high probability entry with a kick up here towards the end. So nice move on the EMD today. 6E, a nice move after the breakout above the T350. Again, you got a lot of charts here in sync to put you in, pull back, and there it is. 5 charts in sync, probably best move of the day on the Euro overnight session. Pretty choppy. Take a look at the yen. Finally get a kick up on the yen. Yen has been pretty much to the downside overnight, but yen finally finding some footing. Here it was, buy signal above the T350 and bank to the upside. Maybe you didn't get it over here. That was the buy signal to the upside to put you into the long, and then pretty much chop out the rest of the afternoon. You might have grabbed a little bit of the sell signal downside here. 2 charts in 51.44. You'd have to look at the chart to see where you're at, but nice entry to the downside. All right, taking a look at the beans. As beans just pretty much choppy session. Sell signal downside on 5 charts in the red. That's what you're looking for each day. And there we go. Sell signal downside right underneath the T350. You might have been watching the Globex low, decide, man, I may just hold off, and pretty much was a flat day for you. Gas, natty gas out with its numbers today. Sell signal downside pre-market, pre-results, a report there, data report at 10:30 has finally ripped down. Again, you're looking at all this, looks great, but this is all at one. If you run the time frame over the range chart, you can see all that at 10:30. So there's no real true entry unless you just hit the market order before, or the limit order before the data came out, and you had yourself an entry to the downside. Pretty much the rest of the afternoon, NG just pretty much chopped it out. Again, you're looking for an entry. You would have looked for either the action above or below the T350, and probably putting your stop a little bit quicker. Looks a little bit tight there. Let me open it up for you. Looks a little bit better, as you would have probably taken off a tick, 6 to 10 ticks maybe from the entry, and but probably stopped out, or just at least in and out would have been the better setups. Again, either above the T350 or below it for the highest probability entry with as many charts in sync would have been my preferred entry. So the sell signal underneath the T350, which would have been 1 and 2 right there. All right, as we move into tomorrow, that's our intraday, always ready in both directions. Whatever the big picture is, it has no play on how I take a setup during the day. However, what it does play a role in is if a key level, such as a 50, a T350, a 144 EMA is right in my line, in my sight of where support or resistance might be, I pay attention to that on the intraday chart, and that's why I use these. So where are we currently? Where are we going tomorrow? I can't tell you. All I can tell you is where the current momentum is. I can tell you that on the big picture, we had good volume today in the market. And first day of September, I can tell you that the YM came down, looked for support at that 50, just about tapped that. But 4-hour chart still holding downside, as we got the T3 cross here on the YM. It's been a while since we've been in the red, actually back in June. So YM coming downside. For us to find the support, for us to not break this 50, that T3 moving average on the 4-hour chart is going to need to get its Heikin Ashi body back upside. So for now, the momentum, I still have to go with the downside on the YM, as the T3 moving averages are holding downside, and I got a 50 144 cross today. Again, I want to see the overnight action and evaluate in the morning, but any resistance to the upside is going to be these moving averages, including the T350. So we can get an amazing bar tomorrow that's just going to break above that, and that's fine. Intraday, I'll take the long entry, but if the higher picture says we continue down, we're going to have a better momentum to the downside on the intraday. All right, so where we sit, NQ in the gap, and ES holding below the 50, all the key moving averages. So right now, if I have no moving averages, I've broken through all these key moving averages. The next one I got to look for is the daily. And so I'll look to the daily and I'll say, all right, I got a 50 there. That could be a key level of support. And then I'll jump to my daily gap chart and take a look. Where do I have a daily gap downside? That might be a level also where price action might just go, stop out, and hold there. And I also might just look at my VPOX as well, volume point of controls. All right, so that's where we are. Current trend in the gap on the NQ, indecision right now, not going either direction. Taking a look at the bars, that's exactly what we have, indecision. Solid Heikin Ashi bar tail down here on the YM today, resting out at an indecision, which is pretty much where we ended. We ended up flat. And the ES, I got to go with the momentum to the downside for now. Crude, we've been talking about crude as it comes down off this big lift here. So we broke it through the T3 moving averages. We still got a little bit to go till the cross here, but T3 moving averages pulling down, indicating the momentum strong to the downside. So I'm looking here to the 200 period moving average for support, and we know that daily gap downside around 37. So 42.31 is going to be from my first level of resistance to the downside and support back to the upside. All right, taking a look at the gold and the bonds. We know that it's been in a downtrend. We've been talking about that all week. So price action gets a little bounce back upside. Unfortunately, the 10 EMA is the trend to beat here, which is still to the downside. So I got to go with the momentum still to the downside on the bonds and the gold. And to wrap it up here on the EMD, S&P Mid-Cap 400, still finding support there at the 144. So I still have to go with momentum to the upside with a little bit of resistance here to the downside and finding that support off the 144. So my momentum big pick is still to the upside there. And 6E, again, nice bounce back upside on the 6E today. 50 still above the 144, but we're below the T350, so a little bit of caution here. We break back above the 50, I'll have higher confidence as we found support off the 200. So good there on the euro. And then wrapping it up on the yen. Yen still continues downside. T310 is downside. So, and we're in between the 50 and 200 gap. So I got to go with the downside. 200 SMA is the next level down. Unless we get a nice kick up on the yen, then I'll look to the 50 and the 144 for first level of resistance. Hey guys, as we head into tomorrow, it is all about non-farm payroll. So heads up. Non-farm payrolls in the morning to end it off. We got a Labor Day weekend, so holiday weekend, and then price action next week as the contract rolls out and we move forward in September. All right, that concludes an insight into the daily trend. Feel free to stop by at tradingfibs.com or any of my social media outlets to obtain more information. My trading mantra: one simple strategy, any market, any chart, any time frame will keep you disciplined. You can find me every day on Twitter at Trading Fibs, and as always, I leave the crystal ball to the experts. I only trade what's in front of me and on my charts, and I always leave my bias at the door when trading. Hey guys, have yourselves a Blue Zone day wherever it may be. Good day, good night, and good trading to ya.